welcome to Good Morning Joy. Is it just me? Or is it a great day for a great day? I'm Shari, Alyse. I am your host. Some people like to call me Joy. I kind of prefer Shari. We have got a great show for you today. I hope that you've grabbed your favorite cup of joy and you are strapped in because we have got a disruptor on the show today. He is a two-time hospitality disruptor. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He's a TED speaker, and he is the founder of the Modern Elder Academy. And we are going to shake things up, and a little later in the show, I'm going to be shaking things up on Sharing with Shari. But for now, I want to share with you the good news that you should know about on the Joy Report. At the center of Lahaina town in Maui, Hawaii, stands a colossal 150-year-old banyan tree. The tree, which has been described as the heartbeat of Lahaina town, was badly scorched during the Maui wildfires. But reports are showing that this beloved tree is showing viridescent signs of new growth. According to Hawaii's Department of Land and Natural Resources, they've suggested that new leaves sprouting from the tree's singed branches are a positive sign of recovery. Since the fires, arborists and other volunteers have donated their time and expertise to save the tree, dousing its roots with thousands of gallons of water and taking root samples to measure the tree's health. Landscape contractor Chris Amonte, who helped aerate the soil around the tree and replenish it with nutrients, told reporters, "To me, it's a symbol of hope. We are taking it to heart to try to bring back the tree to give some hope to Lahaina. We don't know what's down the line, but I think it's going to be a new beginning for everybody." As we bear witness to this miracle, it's a reminder that even in the midst of tough times, we can all dig deep, reach upward and outward, and keep on growing. We are rooting for this beautiful community and for the beloved heartbeat of Lahaina. In other news, just today, there were people all around the world that held a door open for someone, that smiled at a cashier, that passed the salt shaker across the table, that held an elevator door, complimented someone, let someone in traffic, and in the checkout line. There are always good people, good deeds, and good news to report, if you're willing to spot them. Today's guest is Chip Conley. He is a two-time hospitality industry disruptor. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He is a TED speaker, and he is the author of the newest book, Learning to Love Midlife, 12 Reasons Why Life Gets Better with Age, and he's the founder of the Modern Elder Academy. Please welcome this disruptor to Good Morning Joy, Chip Conley.
Oh, thank you, Shari. It's great to be here with you.
So excited to have you here. I already told our viewers that you were going to shake things up a little bit. But before we do that and find out all the ways that you're doing that, I would love to know, what is good in your life right now?
What's good is that in the last 2 weeks, I didn't do any Zoom calls. Actually, well, I'm doing some this week, but I was in Austria and Italy and doing a bit of a digital detox, staying in a secular monastery and hanging out at a medical spa. So yeah, I got sort of back into a regimen where my life was connected to the pace of nature, not to the pace of Zoom.
Oh my goodness, I'm so jealous. That sounds so good. I look forward to the day when there's no Zooms and computers and I, get that connection time again. So, I mentioned that you are a disruptor, and I'm curious, for those who don't know, you founded your own company, Joie de Vie Hospitality, which is the second largest operator of boutique hotels in the United States. And then you also swooped in on Airbnb with the young tech founders, and you were their global head of hospitality and strategy, and you disrupted that whole industry. I want to talk about that, but I also want to know a little further back if little Chip was always a disruptor.
Oh my God. If you asked my mother, she would say, yes, he was.
Of course.
I would say that I don't think certain personality types are disruptive. I wouldn't say that's me. What I will say is that I had a tendency to look at the world differently. And so I would ask questions like, why are we doing it this way? Or why are we doing it that way? And therefore, that was in many ways, my curiosity was the fuel that led to my disruptive entrepreneurship.
I love that. Curiosity, it feels like and seems like that's a big part of what you're doing today and teaching others today in your academy, which we'll get into. But when you started Joie de Vivre, what was the goal or what was the mission with that? And did you see that did you have that foresight to know that that was going to happen, or is that something that just unfolded?
Well, first of all, let's acknowledge that Joie de Vivre as a name of a company is a very impractical name in the United States. Most people don't know what it means, how to spell it, or how to pronounce it. So you've done a great job, Shari.
I practiced.
Joie de Vivre means joy of life. And it was both the name of our company and the mission of what we were trying to do, both for our employees and our customers. What I knew is that I thought that, generally speaking, the hotel industry in the mid-1980s was really boring. Hiltons and Marriotts, they all looked the same. And boutique hotels gave people an opportunity to have an experience that felt local. And that's really why I started the company. We created 52 boutique hotels around California, each with its own name. So Joie de Vivre was the umbrella brand. And at one point, we actually even threw a joy party. And the joy party was, you can go to the U.S. Postal Service and say, I want the addresses for every single Joy in the state of California. And we sent a postcard to 10,000 people, almost all women, of course. There might be some men named Joy, but not too many, especially back 20.
Yeah.
And long story short is we invited 10,000 people with the name Joy to a joy party at one of my hotels, the Hotel Vitale in San Francisco. And the first 50 who signed up got a free hotel room in the luxury hotel. So, oh my God, we had joys from age 8 to age 88. And to go to a party where everybody has the same name and that name has a positive emotional quality to it, there were tears of joy everywhere.
I love that. My first thought was like, wait, I didn't get an invitation. And then we both know why I didn't.
Your name is not Joy.
Thank you. Please, let's repeat that for the people in the back. Joy is not my name. But I love that. So, I mean, listen, I did a lot of looking into your life. I've watched your talks. I mean, you're powerful just in your big messaging. And, people like Brene Brown and Sir Richard Branson and Simon Sinek and all of the people have endorsed the work that you've done and that you do. And I'm curious, with Joie de Vivre, I keep wanting to say that because I practiced it, with that company, how did you disrupt that industry? Would you say that it was because you took the boringness, let's just say it, you said it, and you individualized it?
The idea was create hotels that are as creative as you. So you are where you sleep, meaning not what you are, what you eat, but you are where you sleep. The hotel you're staying in might be a perfect aspirational reflection of you on a good day.
I love that. And as you said that, I just thought when you talked about it, expressing, being an expression of yourself, like where you would stay, that of course to me is joy, where everything around you is an expression of yourself. Let's talk about Airbnb, because this is where we know, or I know, where everything has turned for you with this whole modern elder thing. So can you share a little bit about that journey with Airbnb?
So in my late 40s, after having run Joie de Vivre for, almost 24 years, I was tired of it. I didn't want to do it anymore. The Great Recession was upon us, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And in my late 40s, I had what would be considered a midlife crisis. I now call it a midlife chrysalis, because the middle stage for the butterfly is caterpillar, chrysalis, butterfly. And so a crisis sounds bad and a chrysalis sounds like something's transforming. And I was going through a transformation, but it was hard. And I was able to sell the company. And then in my early 50s, I was approached by the 3 founders of Airbnb who were significantly younger than me. I was 52. They were on average about 30. And the average age in the company was 26. And this was a tiny little tech startup at that time. They said, we want you to come in and be our modern elder, someone who's as curious as they are wise. And I was like, well, you're making fun of my age. And they said, well, no, we're appreciating your wisdom, but we're also appreciating that what we've seen of you and we've read your books is you're very curious. And a lot of times people in their 50s, they've lost the curiosity of life. And so I went in there and I spent 7.5 years, 4 years full-time and 3.5 years part-time as really people called me the gray hair there. Yes, as if I have hair, right?
You're like the one gray hair.
The bald guy there. I really went in and my job was to be curious about things I didn't know, and I didn't know the tech industry, and wise about the things I did know, like leadership and emotional intelligence, and frankly, the hospitality and travel industry. So it turned out to be a very good experience. And I learned as much from Brian Chesky, the founder and CEO, as I taught him. And it led me to ultimately writing a book called Wisdom at Work, The Making of a Modern Elder. And while I was writing that book in Baja, in Mexico, I went for a run on the beach one day, and I had a Baja aha, Shari. Baja aha is like an epiphany of like, why don't we have a place where people can come in midlife to sort through what's next for them? Like, I could have used that in my late 40s when I was going through that crisis chrysalis. I could have also used it in my 50s when I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do professionally now? Who needs me? How could I serve? And so that's how MEA came about, the world's first midlife wisdom school. And we have a campus on the beach in Baja, but now we are opening a campus in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on a 2,600-acre regenerative horse ranch.
Amazing. I have so many things to say with everything that you just said, so I'll try to compact it. First, when I heard about MEA, I was like, this is a summer camp for us midlifers, like so fun. And then, of course, just when I think about summer camp for me, I thought about all the things that I learned and all of the new hobbies that I took, and then all of the friendships that I made, and just that full expression. So that's what came to mind. But also, I heard you say something in one of your talks, and I thought it was so funny. I do a little bit of PR, and you were just talking about how midlife has gotten the worst branding job ever. I was like, yes, Midlife's crisis has a crisis.
Yeah, so when I gave up my TED talk earlier this year about the midlife chrysalis, my first thing I did when I got on stage is like, okay, what is the one word that it comes to mind when I say the word midlife? And everybody said crisis. And I said, well, clearly they've got great branding because it's consistent. But who would like to have their life stage identified as a time of crisis? And yeah, I mean, midlife has a lot going on. It is a time when we are often face to face with our disappointments.
Yeah.
Brené Brown, my friend, says that it's a midlife unraveling. It's when you're unraveling some of your expectations of how you want to live your life. It's also a time where you maybe get rid of the success script that you used to have that no longer serves you. It's a time when you're juggling a lot, juggling maybe a sandwich generation situation with taking care of your older parents, and you still have kids at home, or you're an empty nester, or you're getting divorced, going through menopause, health diagnoses, changing your career, having some newfound spirituality sort of bubbling up inside of you. The bottom line is midlife is full of transitions, and yet we have given people in midlife almost no tools to understand what to do during that time.
And that's why you are the disruptor, because I mean, honestly, and I mean that in the best of ways, because you're right, there is nothing for us midlifers, like lifers. I had to figure it out for myself and really, face everything that you just said. I mean, luckily, I do the inner work all the time. So it's like, well, what is next, and what are some dreams and expectations that didn't happen, and then where can we veer off? But not everybody has that, I wouldn't say initiative, but even just that awareness to know that you can make different choices.
Yeah, no, a lot of people feel like they're getting the game of life wrong. There was a board game that we grew up with, the game of life, and it was like there was one narrow path, and if you had your little plastic card, and you got little tokens when you got married and got your job or had babies or whatever. And I think that, the life we live today is not the game of life. It's not so linear, and yet for a lot of people, when they're going through a challenging time at age 50, they feel somehow like they are an idiot. And the truth is that many of the things we are going through at 50, and you will be going through it soon. I'm outing you on your page,
You're
49-year-old. Um, so isn't that weird though, that we are, sometimes you say to someone, is it okay if I ask your age? It's almost like, is it okay if I ask you about your sex life? I
Right.
mean, come on. It's a very strange thing that we look
Yeah.
at age almost like religion or something that's very private. And the fact is, it isn't very private. If you're a tree, it's private because the rings on the tree are inside the tree. If you're a person like me who's turning 63 next month, you can see my wrinkles.
Right.
So my aging is not private. My relationship with aging may be private. But the bottom line is, what we need to do is learn how to create more of a pro-aging world, not because we have all kinds of anti-aging products. We have all kinds of biohacks to have you live, forever. But the thing that I wrote about in the new book, Learning to Love Midlife, 12 Reasons Why Life Gets Better with Age, is I really wanted to identify the things that do get better with age. We know certain products get better with age. Leather gets better with age. Wine does. Cheese does. There's a lot of things that get better with age. When it comes to humans, we don't think that way. But the truth is, like, our emotional intelligence gets better. We have more wisdom. We have an ability to be less compartmentalized and be more holistic in how we see our lives. We actually learn how to edit and just say, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. And so there's a lot of things that I wanted to point out in the book, because we live in a culture where we're very familiar with what gets worse with age, but not as familiar with what gets better. And Yale's Becca Levy has shown in her research that when someone actually moves from a negative perspective on aging to a positive, they gain 7.5 years of additional life.
Oof.
Which is actually more additional life than if you quit smoking at 50 or if you started exercising at 50. And we have all kinds of public service announcements, PSAs, for stopping smoking and for starting exercising. But where are the PSAs for helping people to understand that as we get older, many things get better?
Well, you are the PSA for us, and I appreciate it, because my friends, we're all in the same age range, and so many want to say, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh, I love this age, except the aches and the pains or the memory.
Or the wrinkles, or the
wrinkles. Yeah, I do say that.
Yeah, for women and men age differently in a variety of ways. There's obviously menopause is a female thing and not a male thing. There's something called andropause for men, but it's not nearly as significant. But for women, the big issue around age 50 is invisibility, and for men, it's about irrelevance. So they both start with the letter I. And we have over 4,000 alumni now from 44 countries. So we've done lots and lots of surveying and research on this. And for women, the invisibility often is a physical invisibility. And sometimes it's an invisibility in terms of showing up at a store and not being seen. But, your daughter's being seen or something like that because they're getting the attention. For men, and so invisibility is a tough one, especially if you've gotten used to being visible and being appreciated for how you look and who you are. For men, it's an interesting thing. Irrelevance is painful for men because for many men, especially if you are a straight white man in America, you've gotten used to a lot of the privilege that you've had in your life. You've never had to deal with any isms. You didn't have to deal with sexism or homophobia or racism if you're a straight white man. And then finally in your 50s, you start dealing with ageism and how people treat you differently and maybe say, okay, boomer, or, I don't need to hear from you. And for a lot of men, wow, they have a hard time with this. For women are so much better at creating the emotional insurance of friends who help you through this time. Men are stoic and rugged individualists and don't like to be vulnerable. And so therefore, when they're suffering through their irrelevance, they don't have anybody to talk to about it.
This is so great because it sounds like what you're really, beyond the many things you're doing for people, is that you're almost normalizing what so many midlife people go through and making it okay, and then offering the summer camp. I'm just going to keep calling it that. I'm not branding it for you, but this school, this midlife school for people to not only normalize but then learn the skills, right, and have the things. What Share just a little bit of some of your classes that you have there.
Yeah, so we have all kinds of classes. We have guest faculty, everybody from Esther Perel to Michael Franti to Richard Rohr to all kind, Dan Buettner, who started Blue Zones. And so there are three key pillars in our curriculum that we teach along with our guest faculty members. Number one is navigating midlife transitions. Number two is cultivating purpose. And number three is learning how to own our own wisdom. And so let me give you just an example of the kind of questions. We ask a lot of questions. We create an environment where people are asked a lot of questions, the kind of questions that you think after you've heard it, like, oh my God, that's a great question, but no one's ever asked me that before. So let me use an example. So Shari, if I were to ask you this, you don't have to answer it, but if I were to ask you, what do you know now or have you done now that you wish you'd learned or had done 10 years ago, you'd come up with that answer. And then I'd ask you another question, which is 10 years from now, what will you regret if you don't learn it or do it now? And why is that a good question? Because for a lot of people, as we get into our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we no longer want to be a beginner again. We don't want to try something new. We lose our curiosity and our openness to new experiences. And curiosity and openness to new experiences are two of the most consistent variables of people who live long, happy lives. So how do we help you to anticipate a regret? The thing that you wish 10 years from now, you say, I wish I'd learned it now. And by actually helping to amplify that anticipated regret, we are, in essence, accelerating your wisdom. And so I asked that question to myself when I was 57, and it's how I learned Spanish, because at age 67, it would not have been any easier to learn Spanish. And it's also how I learned to surf at age 57, because at 67, it would not have been easier.
Amazing.
So long story short is, that's one of maybe 25 questions that are sort of core to our program that help people to realize, okay, I am wiser than I thought. I am more purposeful than I thought. And I have the tools and practices to navigate transitions in my life.
I love it. I can't wait to read Learning to Love Midlife. I want to come to Modern Elder Academy. I want to share about the joy in second act with everybody. And I want to ask you, what would younger Chip say to you today?
I think, that younger Chip would just say, stay curious and hungry and have a sense of humor.
Chip, thank you for being curious, for helping us to grow. And make sure, everybody, that you go and grab Chip's book, Learning to Love Midlife. It's coming out in January 2024. We're so excited for it. Thanks for being on the show, and thanks for helping us to love this part of our lives just a little bit more.
Thank you, Shari. It's an honor to be with you.
I don't know about you, but I am ready to shake these midlife hips on this week's episode of
So when I was in my village, that was my favorite memory. Everything I did right there was fun. I was born in Congo. I grew up in Tanzania.
And what is like one of your favorite things from Congo, that like a tradition or anything that people do? Uh-oh, I see some laughter. Is there?
Yeah.
You got something to say.
No, I think the music, the dance, yeah.
Ooh, do you have a traditional dance?
Oh, yeah.
Will you show it to us? I'll stand up with you. Do I shake the booty too?
Yeah, shake it too. My Tanzania tradition is like to shake it.
Okay, well, I'm not doing that. I mean, I'll do that in my closet by myself.
Yeah.
Are all of the dances with the waist?
Yeah.
You're getting shy. I'm standing here in the middle of people walking by, shaking my. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you go out there and share your smile with someone that needs it today. I'll see you next time on Good Morning Joy, where every day starts with a smile.